Step one, take off the upper shroud by removing these clips. Remove these 4 10mm bolts to hold the grill in place. You need to use a 7mm socket. Remove this bolt. Use your Torx wrench and remove some of the fender screws to pull this back to gain access to another 7mm bolt that holds this black piece in place. After removing this 7mm bolt, you're going to start in the corner and remove this upper bumper piece. It goes underneath your headlight up in here, so you're going to need to kind of work it down and out. Then it goes underneath your grill here. You have to work that out by getting up underneath here and pushing clips to remove this. There's black and white clips. These are the clips that hold that upper black piece on. To get these off, what you need to do is pull down on here. It helps if you have somebody on the outside pulling on the upper bumper piece, but basically you need to separate this tongue here and then they'll release. There's some over there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then some over in the corners that need to be removed. Just be patient, they are a little bit frustrating to work with. After removing the upper bumper piece, you're going to remove the 4 10mm bolts that are located along the bottom side of the grill. You can see the mark there. Once those are removed, you can then pull your grill out. It's time to get the bumper off. In order to do that, you're going to remove 6 18mm bolts. There's one down in here. It's a side support. You can see this is a 15mm down here in the corner. That's going to hold the corner of your bumper on. These are 18mm. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and then there's 4. And then the other one over in that corner, the 15. Okay, at this point you're going to remove your horns for your bumper. These are 15mm bolts. 1, 2, there's 6 of those that hold this plate on. And then you're going to unhook your tow hooks by removing these bolts. There's one on this side, and then there's another one on this side. These are 18mm, and save those. You are going to end up flipping your tow hook over once you do the reinstallation of this. So remember what side is up on this. Okay, it's time to lift the cab. In preparation for lifting the cab, you need to remove your ground cables on the driver's side and on the passenger side. They are 10mm bolts. You may be able to reuse those bolts depending on how much slack you actually have in this line. The kit does provide an extension to extend these, but you may not need to use those depending upon the amount of slack that you have. There's another ground that is located on your passenger side right here, right next to the front body mount. There's another one here, 10mm. There are going to be 3 body mounts that you're going to need to remove and then insert the provided pucks. This is a pretty easy step. These are 21mm bolts. To remove these, they provide you with 22mm hardware to replace. You'll also want to note at this step that in the directions it calls for the longer bolts. You'll have 3 bolts. The shortest one, the longer 2 are 1, 2, and then the shortest one's going to go in the back. In the directions, it's actually reversed. So you're going to need the longest one for the front mount, and the other two you'll use in the back. So just make note of that in the directions. Okay, about the only modification that needs to be done to this to mount the front bumper, aside from drilling another hole for your tow hooks, is to modify these the horns for the bumper. So what you're going to do in the directions, it says to mark right above, you're going to basically cut out this bottom section here, okay, and over here as well, and then you're going to use these holes here for the new bracket that goes on there. So get those holes cut out, and then you're also going to drill a new hole on this side for your tow hook bolt. You're basically going to measure as the directions say from here back 1 7/16 inches and drill a new hole. That will be for, so when you flip over your tow hook, you'll need a new mounting hole to run your second bolt through. Okay, we've got the tow hook reinstalled, flipped over from its original position. Bolts going through the opposite side, so everything is reversed as far as the tow hook goes. We got our bumper mount horn all cut, modified as the directions say. We're going to use 1, 2, 3 for mounting. This is an original mounting position, and you can see the incident mark here from where the original bracket was on there. We're going to use that to line up our new mounting bracket. You're going to reuse your factory bolt there, and then you're going to use the provided hardware in the kit, 7/16 bolt, for the remaining 2 holes. You're going to get those in there, tighten those down. Okay, it's time to modify the bumper. Because we're lifting up the bumper with the body, we need to clearance down below, and you can see that this mark has been drawn in, chalked in. That is 3/4 of an inch down from here. So this distance is 3/4 of an inch, as it says in the directions, and we're just gonna run a straight cut in through here. Okay, so we're gonna cut this piece out, and I'm doing that with a cutoff wheel. You can do that on this side and on the other side. Okay, last thing we're going to do before we get the bumper mounted is we're going to take these outer bumper brackets, and we're going to take the driver's side and we're going to move it over to the passenger side. So just do a little reverse, and then that will change the angle. We're going to leave the hardware loose so that we can have some adjustability once we get the bumper on. Okay, we're going to start lifting the back up. To do so, you're going to want to first remove your spare tire by lowering that down and pulling it out. There are 3, and we're going to start on the passenger side, there's 3 mounts that you're going to need to loosen up and remove, and you're going to put your 1.5 inch spacer in those. In preparation for getting the bumper off, you need to remove some wiring. This is your trailer brake, your trailer controller. Remove this white clip. Squeeze. Remove that. You'll notice there's some wiring that goes over here, up top here. Kind of difficult to see, it sits above this plug here, top left corner. You do have to remove one of these red tabs, and unfortunately you can't see it until you pull the bumper off, and then you can remove that plug. Once you do that, just check your wiring, make sure nothing's caught before you pull the bumper off. You can see one body bed back in here. Another one up there. That's how they should set. In the center here, there's a mount provided in the kit. Comes with a push pin. Before you install that, you're just going to want to take this little pad out of here. It's just going to pop right out. You'll put this in place and secure that down with this through the hole. Okay, once the wires are loosened up on your bumper, you're going to need to remove the bumper by removing these 3 bolts here. This bolt and these 2 nuts. This is a 15 millimeter. These 2 are 18s. You're going to want to save this hardware. Once you remove those, you're going to want to move to the center and remove these 2 here. There's one here and another one up there. Take those off. You're going to want to watch this here, and you should be able to slide this off. Again, keeping an eye on your wiring. In order to get this bumper out, you also have to take, there's a 21 millimeter bolt that you're going to access from the underside here on both sides. Let's see right there, 21 millimeters. And that'll take this bumper right off. Okay, in order to modify the bumper and get that up, you need to remove this plastic that is on the covers of the bumper. You're going to start with the screw down here. It's a Torx screw, and then you're going to have a 7 millimeter here. You're going to have a couple of clips like this down in places like that, and then what you need to do is you need to work these other clips here off and get this off, not completely off, but enough so that you can get to the bolts that hold this bracket here on, and these have large Torx bolts that will remove that. So there's 1, 2, and then there's 1, 2 up here. Once you remove those, you can replace that with the other one. You're going to reuse these clips from the original mounts. Just slide them off and replace them. This is the new mount. I'm going to go ahead and reuse the original bolts, secure that in, and then pop all this plastic back down on, and should pretty much be all set. Before you can mount the bumper back on the truck, there's a couple of things you need to add and modify. Provided in the kit are these blocks, self-tapping screws from the bottom up to secure this. This is using the factory 13 millimeter bolts that you took off that used to attach to the bumper. You'll notice here too that you gotta have a little bit of clearance for your tube, because as your truck bumper goes up, so too does your spare tire tube, so you need to give some room for that to go up. So just notch that a little bit and make sure everything's tight on your bumper, and it should be ready to mount.